Rejection is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life, yet it is something every person encounters on the path to growth, success, and self-discovery. Most people are conditioned from an early age to fear rejection, to associate the word no with failure, loss, or personal inadequacy. Over time, this fear becomes deeply rooted in the subconscious mind, quietly shaping decisions, limiting actions, and weakening confidence. However, rejection itself is never the true problem. The meaning we attach to it is. When rejection is viewed through the wrong mental lens, it feels painful and discouraging. But when understood correctly, it becomes a powerful teacher and a gateway to inner strength. Inspired by the mindset principles taught by Dr. Joseph Murphy, this perspective encourages you to recognize that rejection does not diminish your value, nor does it determine your future. Instead, it is often a sign that life is redirecting you towards something more aligned with your purpose, growth, or potential. Dr. Joseph Murphy emphasized the role of the subconscious mind in shaping our emotional reactions and life outcomes. When rejection triggers feelings of fear or self-doubt, it is usually because the subconscious has been programmed to interpret no as a threat rather than information. This emotional response can cause hesitation, avoidance, and even self-sabotage. But once you understand that rejection is neutral, it carries no meaning until you assign one. You regain control. You begin to see rejection as feedback rather than judgment, as an experience rather than an identity. This shift alone can dramatically change how you move through life. Instead of shrinking after a setback, you become more curious, more resilient, and more confident in your ability to move forward. Confidence is not the absence of rejection. It is the ability to remain steady and self-assured despite it. People who appear fearless are not immune to being told no. They have simply learned not to internalize it. When rejection no longer shakes your sense of self, you stop seeking validation from external circumstances and start trusting your inner foundation. This is where true confidence is built. Each rejection you face without retreat strengthens your emotional endurance and reinforces the belief that you are capable, worthy, and resilient. Over time, what once felt intimidating becomes manageable, and what once stopped you no longer has power over your decisions. When you adopt this mindset, rejection transforms from an obstacle into a stepping stone. It becomes part of the journey rather than a reason to quit. Every successful individual has faced countless rejections, often more than the average person, because they were willing to keep showing up despite discomfort. By aligning your thoughts with confidence, persistence, and self-belief, principles deeply rooted in the teachings of Dr. Joseph Murphy, you train your subconscious to respond calmly and constructively. As a result, you move forward with clarity instead of fear, purpose instead of hesitation, and courage instead of doubt. This is how rejection loses its grip and confidence becomes your natural state. Once you begin to understand rejection as a neutral experience rather than a personal verdict, the next step is learning how to respond to it consciously and intentionally. Many people react to rejection automatically, allowing emotions such as embarrassment, anger, or discouragement to take control. These reactions are not signs of weakness. They are simply habits formed by past conditioning. According to principles often associated with the teachings of Dr. Joseph Murphy, the subconscious mind responds to repetition and belief, not logic alone. When rejection repeatedly triggers negative self-talk, the subconscious accepts those thoughts as truth and reinforces them. Over time, this creates a cycle where fear of rejection limits effort, and limited effort produces limited results. Breaking this cycle begins with awareness and deliberate mental training. A powerful way to retrain the mind is to pause after rejection and observe your inner dialogue. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" shift the question to, "What can this experience teach me?" This simple change redirects your focus from self-judgment to self-growth. The subconscious mind responds favorably to calm, constructive thoughts, and when you repeatedly choose empowering interpretations, confidence begins to grow naturally. Dr. Joseph Murphy taught that what you consistently impress upon your mind shapes your emotional responses and external circumstances. By affirming your worth and capability after rejection, you prevent negative emotions from taking root and maintain inner stability. Another important element of becoming rejection-proof is detachment from outcomes. When your sense of self-worth is tied too tightly to results, every rejection feels like a threat. Detachment does not mean lack of desire or effort. It means understanding that your value exists independently of approval, acceptance, or success. This mindset allows you to show up fully while remaining emotionally balanced regardless of the outcome. When you release the need for validation, you operate from a place of inner confidence rather than fear. Ironically, this emotional freedom often leads to better results because confidence is naturally attractive and persuasive. Rejection also serves as a mirror, revealing areas where growth is possible. Sometimes it highlights skills that need refinement, communication that needs clarity, or goals that need realignment. Instead of resisting this information, welcoming it allows you to evolve. Those who succeed long-term are not those who avoid rejection, but those who learn from it quickly and apply those lessons effectively. Each experience strengthens emotional intelligence, patience, and resilience. Over time, rejection stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like a guidepost pointing toward improvement. As this mindset becomes ingrained, courage replaces hesitation. You begin taking action more freely, speaking more confidently, and pursuing opportunities without overthinking potential failure. The fear of rejection loses its influence because you no longer see it as a final judgment. Instead, it becomes a temporary moment that cannot define you. This inner shift aligns closely with the teachings of Dr. Joseph Murphy, who emphasized mastery of thought as the foundation of personal power. When your mind remains steady and confident, external circumstances lose their ability to control you. Rejection becomes part of the journey, not a reason to stop, and confidence becomes a stable, lasting state rather than a fragile emotion dependent on outcomes. As confidence strengthens through repeated, conscious responses to rejection, a deeper transformation begins to take place within the mind. What once felt like an emotional threat gradually becomes a familiar experience that no longer triggers anxiety or self-doubt. This shift occurs because the subconscious mind learns through consistency, and each calm, confident response rewrites old emotional patterns. Over time, rejection stops activating fear and starts activating clarity. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you become grounded, aware, and intentional in your next steps. This is the stage where personal power truly develops, because your emotional state is no longer dictated by external approval or temporary outcomes. At this level, rejection becomes a tool for alignment rather than resistance. It helps you recognize when something is not meant to unfold as imagined, allowing space for better opportunities to emerge. Many people cling to outcomes out of fear, believing that rejection closes doors permanently. In reality, rejection often redirects energy toward paths that better match your skills, values, and long-term goals. By trusting this process, you develop patience and emotional maturity. This trust is not passive. It is an active decision to believe in your inner guidance rather than external validation. Teachings inspired by Dr. Joseph Murphy often emphasize that when the mind is aligned with confidence and faith, life responds with greater harmony and direction. As you continue to move forward without fear, your actions become more authentic. You speak honestly, pursue goals boldly, and express yourself without overthinking how others might respond. This authenticity creates a sense of inner freedom that cannot be shaken by rejection. When you no longer seek approval to feel worthy, you naturally attract situations and people that resonate with your true self. Confidence rooted in authenticity is stable because it is not built on performance or outcomes. It is built on self-trust, clarity, and emotional resilience. Rejection loses its power because it no longer challenges your identity or sense of direction. Another important realization at this stage is that rejection often has little to do with you personally. Many rejections are influenced by timing, circumstances, or other people's limitations and perceptions. When you understand this, you stop personalizing experiences that were never about your worth. This awareness creates emotional distance from unnecessary pain and allows you to remain focused on growth. Instead of replaying negative moments in your mind, you invest energy into improvement and forward momentum. This shift preserves mental clarity and emotional balance, both essential for long-term success. Eventually, rejection becomes almost irrelevant to your decision-making process. You act based on intention rather than fear, and confidence becomes your default state. This does not mean you stop caring or striving. It means you stop allowing fear to control your choices. You develop resilience not by avoiding discomfort, but by moving through it with awareness and calm. In this way, rejection becomes a training ground for emotional mastery. Inspired by the principles often associated with Dr. Joseph Murphy, this level of confidence reflects a mind that understands its own power. When your thoughts remain steady and self-affirming, no external setback can diminish your progress. Rejection becomes part of the journey, not an obstacle, and confidence becomes a permanent foundation rather than a temporary reaction.